Ryan P. Hall.
Hello.
Welcome to Seeing Other People.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm not used to recording without holding a microphone. This is very odd for me.
I'm also not used to having a thing dangling on my shirt. But
yeah,
we're gonna get used to it.
We're gonna roll with the punches. Why P? Why Ryan P. Hall, not just Ryan Hall?
So my name is so boring. Ryan Hall, 2 4-letter words that I had to know. My middle name's Porter, and I hated it growing up. I don't know why, because it just was weird. And then when it was my grandfather's middle name, and then when he died, it just took on new meaning, and also made my name not so boring. And so when you say Ryan Hall, you fall asleep while you're saying it. It's that boring.
I think Ryan Hall's a great name.
It just, I don't know. It's nothing interesting. It's I'm from Kentucky, and that's already boring. And then you add a boring name. It's just I didn't have going.
I think Ryan Hall sounds like the coolest person I've ever heard of from Kentucky.
Well, the bar is low, so I'll take it. But yeah, it's funny when people say Ryan Hall, I don't even know who that is. My friends either call me the full name. They'll say hey, Ryan P. Hall. Yeah. Which is so weird. I never asked for that. It just happens. Or it's RPH or something.
RPH?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I coerced you into coming onto this podcast.
You politely asked. Well,
politely insisted.
Several seafood towers.
Yes.
And so, yes. Yeah.
When you agreed to come on a dating and relationships podcast, was there anything in your mind of ooh, I really don't want to talk about that, or I hope that doesn't come up?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. It's obviously when you're talking about dating and relationships, especially, being specific, it's tough sometimes about, previous things, but also I'm 44 and single, and so.
Oh, we got the age finally.
Yes, didn't tell you. I was at dinner, was trying to dance around the actual number was, but I'm 44 and was with someone for 13 years, a little over 13 years, and so it's definitely an interesting time to be single at this age with the kind of job that I have in Austin, Texas, and I don't really have time to be I don't know, out there, if you will, because I, just have one of the most demanding but fun jobs on the planet. So it's interesting. So yeah, I usually overshare, so we'll see.
Oh, I love.
But,
perfect. Perfect.
No guarantees.
Ryan and I met last night, by the way, for everybody listening. I was like, this is happening. This is just happening.
It was awesome.
I'm pumped.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I would be doing this today. But it was also one of those where, we're at a podcast conference.
Yeah. Someone had to do it.
In Rome, yeah.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so 13-year relationship. How did that relationship start?
We met at a bar on Cinco de Mayo, as everyone does.
Taylor's oldest time.
Yeah, of course. I know you always meet. It was one of those, I didn't want to go to the bar that night. I was working, what was it, 2010? Oh, we were working on a movie, a bad Nick Cage movie. It was decent.
Not National Treasure.
No, did that too, but this was a movie called The Sorcerer's Apprentice that I guarantee none of you saw. It was our attempt to try to do Harry Potter for Disney, and it didn't go so well. But we're in the movie and was leaving. It was a long day, and my buddy was like, "Hey, Cinco de Mayo, you gotta come out." I don't want to do that, and he convinced me. I was like, "Fine." Turned my car around. It was already almost home, and then went to the bar, and as one does in Cinco de Mayo, you start talking to a bunch of people after a few margaritas, and then and that led to dating for a long time. We didn't get engaged until 10 years in.
Were you looking to meet somebody at that time?
No, not at all. I'm one of those people, just like now, where it's work has always been, maybe to a fault, my priority. And I'm also very cool with being alone. I sometimes prefer being alone. Even going to movies by myself is probably my favorite thing to do. Even if I'm dating someone and just head over heels and just I want to spend every waking moment, I still would rather go see the movie by myself, which is weird. But
well, it's part of it's one of your passions, and you can really focus in on it. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, I find that a lot of people I know who I've spoken to who love what they do, it is very difficult for them to be willing to give some of that up to prioritize a relationship. I have a long history before I met my now husband, dating people who only worked in the music industry. And I was setting myself up for failure every single time because they were work.
Yep.
And then like one day when they're super successful and like have made it, then they'll look for somebody.
Yeah. But did you, with your husband, does he, like even now?
Well, he's not in the industry.
Okay. But you like that though? Like you like the fact that he's not?
Yes. I needed to get far away from that.
Yeah. It's interesting how like, especially like, I know I work in entertainment and most of my background is like film and television, and most folks that I know in film and TV like date or are married within the industry, and they like it because they can like go home and talk about the same kind of things. And to me, like, I don't like that at all. I mean, anyone I've ever dated has usually been outside of my business, because you get enough of it, right? Like I'm sure you get enough, whatever you're doing. And there's like, I don't need to come home and like talk about the thing that I talked about for 8-10 hours a day.
At one point, he did recently decide he was going to pursue becoming a TikToker, which everyone was like, are you so excited about that? I'm like, no. He comes home from work every day, and first he like updates me on his work day, and then he goes, okay, what TikTok are we making tonight? I'm like, this is a you thing. Right. I've been making content all day. I don't want to do content. I want to help you come up with your ideas, help you film, and then edit for you, and then write your caption, and then post for you.
That's exhausting. Yeah. I mean, good for him. Let him do it. But
Well, he's given up, and now I'm sad about it. Okay. Of course. But back to you. So 10 years before you got engaged. That's a long time.
Yeah. I think we were like, living in LA, both in very different industries and like life paths in terms of career. And even though like, she was, super, super successful, and I was working on becoming successful, like in the entertainment business, like either you're at the top and doing really well, or you're just like trying to get there. And I was kind of in those early years trying to get there, and she was incredibly supportive. But like, we were constantly moving, and then we moved to Austin and building a house. And it was always just kind of like things in life, like being married wasn't the priority, for either of us, at least, I don't want to speak for her, but like, I think we were, as we talked over the years, like it wasn't a priority for us to like getting engaged and married was just kind of like, hey, we're together. Like that's all that really mattered. And she worked a ton, I worked a ton, and it was just kind of like, you're just getting through life. We got a dog, and, and she, didn't really want kids. I didn't really want kids. And so the focus was really just like, just being together. Right. And then, after, I think, after 10, maybe 11 years, 11 years, we got engaged, that it was just like, it felt like the right time, and, she might've said otherwise, like maybe it should have happened earlier. I don't know. But I think it was like, oh yeah, like we're together, and let's just formalize this in a way. And, but then after getting engaged, like we built a house, and, it was like living in a different part of Austin, and just kind of, unfortunately just, it didn't quite work out. So, but that happens,
Yeah. What changed? Like, was there a defining moment or situation, or did you just slowly like fall out of love? Or, I find that you can always like have love for somebody, but not be in love with them and want to spend your life with them. Yeah. Like what shifted?
I don't know. I think I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to like figure out what happened. I think like it was very mutual when it happened. And like when we decided to split up, I think we both just like got too comfortable. And, I think just felt like, there wasn't like a reason for us to like, like you want to be with someone where you're just like, holy shit, you wake up every morning. I don't think she woke up every morning being like, holy shit, like, sorry.
You can.
Oh my God, like look at that person. I can't believe I'm with him. And then vice versa for me. And I think like, that's what you want. And I suspect as we're both still trying to like figure out what happened, that just kind of, slowly slipped away. And, like I have some family issues. She had some family stuff going on. And it's like, once you get distracted by your personal things going on, and then also how busy, like, this last few years once we were engaged and then when we split, like I took on this new job working with YMA Studios, and it was a lot to do. It still is. Like it's insane that I even have 10 minutes every day to myself.
You also have like 10 jobs.
Yeah. And so like, and she was always supportive of it, but like I'm sure it's my fault that I lost focus in her. I think like we always need to be mindful of, if we're with somebody, don't take that for granted and assume that just because like they're there that you're giving them enough time or attention. I definitely didn't do that because it was just a lot of work.
Did she ever ask for more from you though? Like was were there ever conversations about like, maybe this isn't working, like, maybe we should refocus things or change things, or were you both just like, this isn't it anymore?
Yes and no. I think like, hopefully she would say the same thing I would, which is like, we should have done more of that. Like there were some times we were like, hey, like we should go see somebody and do something, and like, and we did, and then it would be better. And then you just, then you didn't do enough work. It's like doing something once obviously isn't enough, and doing something every once in a while, just to like put a Band-Aid on something isn't enough. And so I think that's kind of what happened, was just like, we would acknowledge it, address it, and then, hope that it would be better. And then acknowledge it, address it, it would be better. And it's just, there's a series of those. And then all of a sudden, like, when you wake up and you realize you didn't do enough and it's too late, like that's the bummer part of it. But, I'm still trying to figure out, like what happened, even though we haven't been together for a year. I think it's been almost a year now. And so you'd think that's enough time to like figure it out, but like still haven't.
No, I mean, it's also 13 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. There's so much that happened along the way, and you also were completely different people by the time the relationship ended than you were when you went into it.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, gosh, like what I was, when I was 30, when I met her, and like that version of me compared to now is just, I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's just so radically different, and like my career, I was a putz. I'm still a putz, but it was just like a putz trying to figure out what I was going to do. And now like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm probably doing too much, but I love it, and it's like, I think that's the other thing with relationships. It's like, you gotta find the right person at the right time, but also under the right circumstances. And like the circumstances for me then was like, I had a job, I was working with a film director, the guy who directed National Treasure and all those things, and it was cool, but it was like, it was a very 9 to 5. Like you could do it, and you're not in your sleep, but like
you could do it and have a life.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, just every waking moment, and even when I'm sleeping, one would argue, like I'm thinking about work and trying to like grow a vodka business and our podcast business. We have a Netflix show we're shooting in a month that like I'm the lead producer on, and it's going to be massive. And like that alone is a full-time job that requires all your attention, and you should probably not have anyone in your life. And then you add all the other things I just said, and our podcast business, our sales business, like I oversee all of it. And so luckily I'm single with no kids and I can handle. But like the idea of a relationship right now, even the previous one, if it was still going, or a new one, it's just like, it's tough.
But you're dating.
I'm definitely dating. Yeah. I mean, like I think it's tough because it's like, you want to, again, give someone the attention that they deserve, but you also got to find somebody that understands your schedule. And look, I've missed out on friends that hopefully they still consider me friends, but I'm not sure these days, because like they're like, hey, like, what? I haven't heard from you. I keep texting you, and it's not that I'm not thinking of them, but I legit just can always do better. The text takes 10 seconds, but it's just, there's so much going on. Like you'll read something like, oh yeah, I'll get back to them in an hour. And that's just friends. So then you add the layer of like dating with my current schedule and responsibilities. And it's just like the trepidation of, do I want to, be dating someone and disappoint them, if that makes sense? Like, because, like this, I was supposed to fly back this morning. So now I stayed an extra day. And because I have like a couple other big meetings and a very important podcast that I agreed to do.
I appreciate it.
And that very happy to do. But like, that's another day of not being around. And then I fly back tomorrow. And then we have a live podcast event that we're doing tomorrow night at a comedy club. And then it's Friday and the weekend, and I have plans on Saturday and some friends that are in town. And it's like, you stitch all that together, and it's just like, where's the time to actually give someone the attention that they deserve, because I think I'd be bummed if I was into somebody and I was like, yeah, but he travels all the time, he's got his job, and he's working, and there's some days I'll be in the office till like 9:30, and it's just me like trying to get through emails and calls, because we have a lot of West Coast business, that their days end at 6:30, which is later. So it's tough, long way of saying like, yes, dating, but it's just tough because like I'm so mindful, perhaps to a fault, of not being the the asshole of like, like at least showing a ton of interest, but he's busy, and and so, but either someone understands or they don't. I've kind of subscribed to that like mindset of, if you understand it and you're sympathetic with like what's going on, and then you'll be cool. But if not, then it's probably not gonna work.
How do you go about explaining your lifestyle to somebody when you're on a date with them? Like, if you think you're hitting it off and you're like, I'm a little excited, and they're like, Ryan, don't get too excited. Got a lot going on. What does that look like? Like, you go on a good first date, then what?
Yeah, I mean, not everyone can understand, even my own family. Like, my mom is always just like, wait, what do you do again? And because there's so much, right? Like, I mean, I didn't know anything about vodka, and and it was my idea to go into Tom and Bert. We should have vodka porosos. Please buy bottles in Texas, California, Florida. If that's where you're listening or watching. And so, but like, I went into Tom and Bert into a meeting, and I just started with Tom maybe 6 months prior, and I barely knew Bert Kreischer, who we do a podcast with, and I was like, hey, I think you guys should do a vodka. And they're like, okay, why? and I gave them all the reasons why, and I felt like why the vodka business or the vodka industry like needed a jolt of energy and fun. Everyone drinks Tito's, but like it's just, ours is better, but also like this is more fun. Like,
you need to try it.
Yeah. Oh, I will definitely get you some. And and so just give them a ton of reasons, and they're like, okay. Oh shit, like, no, I have to go do that.
Right.
Like, I just created an entire new arm of our business that I now have to put together, which has been a blast. Like, one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, to be able to do this and like put this together. It's like, it went from the silly idea that I had into like a business. But I bring that up because trying to explain to someone that I oversee a podcast studio, I oversee a film and television production company, an ad sales business, an e-commerce business, a social team.
I couldn't even relist all of these things.
Yeah, it's insane. And then like you go, all of those things plus the vodka business, which like a lot of folks don't quite understand. And I didn't either. Like, I can explain to you that I oversee podcasts or whatever. Like, I can tell you about what that entails. But then you go, all right, well, this vodka business, we're doing these massive events. Jelly Roll's wearing our hat at the Super Bowl. We have to do these things at MGM. We did a 5K at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena in May. And it's like all these things that have to flow through me. And if I just tell someone on a first date about just the vodka part, they're like, wait, what? and then if I try to explain the rest of the things I do, they're just like, wait, huh? My experience has been, it's too much. And so I try not to, I just say, look, I oversee a production company that we do like film, television, podcasts. And
you keep it short and simple.
Yeah, because otherwise it is, I mean, even me saying it right now, I'm exhausted by that.
Yeah,
like,
and you don't want to spend your entire day talking about what you do.
No, yeah. I grew up, single mom and two older sisters, and like, I'm the kind of person that I'd rather, listen than, and they instilled that in me, and it's just like, if you're going on a date with a girl, like, don't be the one just talking all the time.
Yeah.
Like, listen, because it's not only good for her, but also like good for you to like pay attention. Because I think my inclination is always just to like, try to, if there's any, I don't know, like any like, we're not talking or whatever. I'll try to fill in the gaps.
Right.
But no. So I try not to like bring up a ton of stuff and say stuff, because there's been a few times where like it's overwhelmed people. And they're like, holy shit, like you do all that, not in an oppressive way. Like I'm never going to get your time. I think they know that.
How do you think growing up with a single mom shaped who you are?
I mean, she wasn't single the entire time. But like, in my years where I was actually paying attention, teenage years on, she was. And I think, it was, she worked so much and had to do two jobs just to like, take care of us in the way that she wanted to. And so I don't know. I think it's just, I've always been like very mindful of someone that like, you can be single. She was dating, like be single, date, but also have to work. She worked for different reasons. She had kids. I don't. But I think I learned that like, even if you work your ass off, you still have to find time for fun. And she did. Like she would, and she would work endless amount of hours and still every once in a while, not often as much as me, go out and like, phone with friends and do that kind of stuff. And I was always impressed by the fact that she could do that, because it didn't seem like there was any hours left in the day. But she was like, you know what, forcing myself to go out, and this isn't, Louisville, Kentucky, there's only so much you can do. But she would find time with friends. I think that's like definitely the biggest thing that I've learned is like, you can definitely work your tail off, and you should, but you have to find time for fun. Just like last night at the casino.
And last night's Seafood Tower.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to. Otherwise,
Got it.
just I could have easily gone back last night instead of having an amazing dinner and going to casino and having a good time and like going back and work. And I probably should have, but it was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm forcing myself to like go out and actually have a good time.
Yeah. So 44, single. How are you different now than when you were in your 20s and single? Because you mentioned you guys met around 30.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned? Like, what is different thinking back to that time, the last time you were single? Like, any regrets? Talk me through all of that, of just like how dating at 44 is different than dating in your 20s.
I will say dating at 44 at this stage of my life is way more fun because when I was in my 20s, I had no money and I'd go to the bar and like try to milk one beer for as long as I could possibly drink it just to hold something, right? Whereas now, like, especially in Austin, there's a lot of fun stuff to do in Austin. And when you have a little bit of money to be able to like have fun, really like the fact that you can go out and be like, I can do anything I want tonight, and like, and also just treat my friends and, like there'll be nights out where they didn't ask for it, they're not expecting it, but I'll just, like take care of everything. And it's just so much more fun because you can kind of, once you've liberated yourself from like the concern of like, I can only afford one beer tonight. And then, to just like, hey, like, let's just go out and focus on having fun and not worrying about, like what the bill is or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, in a douchey way, is what makes it fun for me because it's just like, we can do anything we want now. Like we can go anywhere we want, we can do anything we want. Oh, the only way you can get in is buying a bottle. Like, let's just go. Like, let's have fun, right? But it is different that like, I feel like the old guy all the time at bars. There's not a lot of single 40-year-olds out there. Like there's some, but there's not a lot. So then, then you go to bars and most people are probably in their 30s, a lot of them are in their 20s. And that part's been an adjustment for me. Like going out and being like, oh, there's the guy, even though we were joking last night at dinner, I may not look 44, maybe 42. But, there's a lot of people like, they think I'm in my mid 30s and then they find out I'm 44 and they're like, oh, okay. That it's just like, I'm not that old. But yeah, like when you meet somebody and, there was this girl that I met and we were talking for like the entire evening. And I suck at this game. We were kind of playing it last night of like, how old do we think we all are? I'm not good at this game. And I could have sworn she was older, but she was. She was in her mid 20s. But when she found out I was 40, and she thought I was younger, mm-hmm. and she found out I was 44, like it like shut down.
Everything changed.
Yeah, which is good because like, I'm not looking to date someone in my mid 20s either.
Right.
So it was fine. But it was just one of those like you could just see it in her. And then like it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit where you're just like once I knew too that I was going nowhere anyway. But the flip side of it, like when you're on the receiving end of like the wall getting shut down,
yeah,
I guess I am a little off, but it's fine. I don't care.
No, that's rough. That's the hard part about meeting people in like out in the wild. And I mean, do you find that you can go somewhere and meet women in their late 30s or early 40s, or do you feel like they're just not out there?
It's tough. I mean, but I also like I'd probably be the wrong person to ask because I don't really have a ton of time to go out there.
Right.
And like it'd be nice to have 2 or 3 nights a week to go out and meet people, but I just don't really have it. So like, there'll be sometimes a friend will say like, buddy of mine will be like, hey, let's go to wherever. And then we go, and it's a cool scene. And then we're like, upon further inspection, it's in your 20s. And I was like, can we get out of here? Like, let's go home, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like the dad at the party, like who's the narc, I'm but more often than not, that actually is the case. And Austin is it's a college town, right? So like, there's a lot of times you go out and someone says like, oh, have you been to so-and-so? And like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And then you go and it's like this.
It's like literally underage people who've gotten with fake IDs.
Yeah, correct. Or it's like a club scene that's also not my vibe.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of past the, the bottle service, loud music kind of thing. And so I'd much rather just like go to a dive bar and chill. But, a lot of those places are now being packed by younger folks. And so, that's fine. Like I'm not like looking for anything and trying to, go out and be like, I gotta find my wife. It's like I'm not doing that. So I have enough distractions. So it's like it's kind of liberating to date in Austin at my age with what's going on is like, fine.
Yeah, there's no pressure.
Yeah.
If you meet somebody who fits in with your life and brings you joy and you feel that ping of like, I wake up every morning and I feel so lucky to be with this person, like that's the person you'll be with.
Yep.
But if you don't, you've filled your life with so much that makes you want to wake up in the morning and makes you feel whole. And I feel like that is the best way to be, because when your whole focus is like finding somebody, then every day that you don't find somebody, you feel like you failed.
Yeah, totally. 100%. And I think that is, it's a good position to be in. Not that it wouldn't be amazing to like, you know, be with your forever person and, you know, like, look, you know, there's a chance that maybe like someone I'm talking to now, like, is that person? I don't know. But I think, you know, you don't need to know right away.
Right.
You know, sometimes like you can be excited about someone and then, you know, like you settle in and then you learn more and more about them and it's either like gets better, it gets worse or whatever. But I think what I love about my situation now is like taking the time to like get to know somebody instead of just, you know, jumping into like, because we all jump into something where it's just, it's the shiny new toy, you know, and it's, oh my God, like amazing. And, you know, I can't believe it. And it's great, but you've really just not dug in and like talked to somebody. And the biggest lesson I learned from my previous relationship ending, and also just how that went, even though obviously in 13 years I learned everything I needed to know by the person, you know, was just really like taking the time and just being like, it can be awesome, but give it the time and take your time, especially when I have so much going on. It's like, you know, I need to know that the other person is cool with my life because I have a very abnormal life, you know, and luckily I don't travel as much as like some other people that I know, and like they're constantly on the road every week. But you know, we're gonna shoot this Netflix show in a month, and I'm gonna be every day on set, you know, like 14-hour days, and you know, if I'm not there, I'm gonna be thinking about it on top of all the other shit that I, you know, the vodka and everything else. So like, I need to know that like that's cool with somebody, and most people it won't be, even if they say, well, like, no, I get it, like you work a lot,
like I'm chill, that's okay. Yeah. I don't need to hear from you all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you?
People always say like, oh yeah, you know, like it's I'm cool with it, but they're like, it's fine, like go play golf, like, you know, on a Saturday, I'm totally fine. And then after 4 weekends where the person is gone for, you know, this isn't my case, but like I have friends where their wives are like, it's totally fine, like when they meet them, right? They're like, hey, you know, like it's like you play golf every Saturday, okay, that's interesting, that's fine, yeah, like you should do that, like that's healthy. And then 3 months
why can't we do anything on Saturday?
Correct.
Yeah, football season is right around the corner, and
does your husband play or watch football a lot?
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing you don't.
Nope, I'm trying. I've committed myself to becoming a Jets fan.
Oh.
Okay. It's tough out here for us. Are most of your friends married or in relationships, or do you have single friends?
Most of them are married. I also don't have a ton of friends. I mean, I do, like a lot of like, but like in terms of people that I actively hang out with,
I
don't. I mean, right now, currently in Austin, I probably have like 5 or 6 folks that I hang out with consistently. You're like playing is, well, yeah, it's more than enough. Right? Yeah, probably 4 is enough, especially knowing the other 2. But most of them are married. One isn't. I just did a 2.5 week trip in Europe with my buddy who's also single. He's a little bit older than me, but I hadn't taken a vacation in like 5 years, and like my one single friend now is like, hey, let's just go to. It started with like, let's go to Dublin, and I'm going to Dublin, Berlin, Barcelona, Ibiza, Rome,
oh my God,
and like 2 other cities in Germany, and we saw Taylor Swift. As 2 single guys.
That's hilarious.
So the crazy story.
I'm so jealous.
So okay, we both didn't know anything about Taylor Swift really, other than like apparently the concert's amazing. Yeah. And so we were in Dublin. She was there, and we like were drinking all day on Saturday, and we're like, we'll just go down to the arena and see what happens. And there was no tickets being sold because it's like Taylor Swift, and who's gonna give up their ticket, right? So we went on this website, didn't know if it was real. It's like in Dublin version of like, you know, SeatGeek, something. Yeah. And there was 2 tickets available. One was left center stage, one was right center stage. They were like, there's a ton of money, but we didn't care. Like, again, after like 4 Guinnesses, you're like, why not? So like, you book that one because on the left stage, I'll book this one on the right stage, but we'll just meet in the middle. And then we get in, the show starts, he'd be like, I'm walking towards the middle, and then we realized quickly
Catwalk.
there's no middle. Yeah, so you can't get to the other side. So we watched Taylor Swift by ourselves.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Which was amazing, by the way. It was like one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. But like two single guys hanging out in Dublin watching Taylor Swift by ourselves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Someone should write a movie about that.
No, just standing there. I hung out with all the dads that were like clearly there like just for one reason. And I was like, yeah, I'm with it. Like I definitely have a daughter that's over there. Yeah. I'm not here by myself watching a Taylor Swift show. But it was cool, like being single, and to go to like Europe with your really close friend for 2.5 weeks, is something that like, hopefully I don't have the chance to do again. But I'm like with somebody where like I don't have, another 2.5 weeks.
She wants to go to Taylor Swift, so then you take her to Taylor Swift together.
Correct. And that would be a normal concert going experience, not two single 40-year-old guys at a Taylor Swift show. It's very creepy, but we literally that was the story.
Of all places to be creepy, you could that
100%.
There's a lot of creeping you could do.
Yeah. It's not like if we centered our trip around going to Taylor Swift, then yeah, it'd be awkward. But I promise it was unintentional.
It's just funny to me because there are so many people who like planned their year around getting flights to Dublin, like getting those tickets at no matter what, and you guys just like were there and just bought some tickets.
Yeah, it was not to stay on it too much, but like it was one of the most incredible shows I've ever seen. Like we both walked out of there, we're like, that was insane, right?
Life changed.
Yeah. Like we definitely didn't watch that by ourselves, but if we did, then like that was insane, right? I promise that we saw like Pearl Jam and other like cool bands after that.
Okay, sure.
But yes, it was definitely awkward.
My favorite question to ask every guest and seeing other people: what is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you have ever received or have to give?
It's definitely from my mom or sisters. I can't remember. We had touched on it earlier, but pay more attention to listening than than talking. And I think like mainly not just because people want to be heard, but also just to like pay attention to who you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we get caught up so much in like, is he or she beautiful? Are they fun to be around? But also like, who are they? And I think, one thing that I have a blast doing is like really asking more questions than people expect, and like, they're like, oh, like, you really care about that? Like, yeah, like it sounds like something that you care about, and I want to know more about it. And they'll usually like dig and dig and dig until they're like, are we talking about something else? Because I really do want to know. So I'm not perfect at that, but I try to listen more than I talk when I'm, dating somebody, or at least just even getting to know them. And it's applicable to friends and, coworkers and, conferences like this where like, you're meeting awesome people. And, like, they have a lot of really cool things to say. Like, I feel like I'm not that interesting of a person. I do interesting
You
things.
said that last night. I'm like, I think you're incredibly interesting.
I think I do interesting things, so it makes me interesting. But like, there's not a lot of depth here. Like I'm from Kentucky, for God's sakes. Like, there's the amount of like culture, and I didn't leave the country until I was 30. Like, there's not a lot going on.
If I had $1 for every time you mentioned you're from Kentucky since I met you.
It's a sad
part of you.
Truth. No, okay. I love Kentucky.
I've never been.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like people have an expectation of like what Kentucky is, and so I usually try to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And like like before you make fun of it, I'm gonna make fun of it first. Even though I love it, I'm from Louisville. Louisville's like a big city. Like we don't have pigs and we have shoes and like all that kind of stuff. There's parts of Kentucky that don't have it. But I try to make a joke of it.
Before other people.
Exactly, but also like I'm proud of it. It's just but it's also like people think that I think it was a defense mechanism for a long time because everyone would be like, you're an LA guy. Like, I am not an LA guy. I'm very much a Kentucky. I'm more of an Austin or a Kentucky person than I am LA.
We have 13 seconds. I don't know what happens when this expires.
Oh no.
Where can people find you and your work? Thank you so much for being here.
Buy Porosos Vodka. YMH Studios support all our podcasts. 2 Bears, 1 Cave, your mom's house. Porosos Vodka.
Brian P. Hall.